Good morning, good day, and good evening to all our attendees joining us for today's latest Data Science Central webinar. I'd like to first of all thank Tableau for sponsoring today's event. As many of you may know already, Tableau is a longtime supporter of the Data Science Central community and a wonderful partner, and we are honored to have them sponsoring our event today. I would also like to take this opportunity to mention and show our appreciation for some of our other recent sponsors, including MapR, Teradata, TIBCO, Oracle, Pivotal, and Cisco, to name just a few. These past webinars are available on demand at datasciencecentral.com, and if you have not had the opportunity to view them, I would encourage you to do so, as they do provide some very useful information. Today's webinar is entitled Open Happiness Through Visualization and Business Intelligence at Coca-Cola. And before we begin, I would like to briefly review the format of today's webinar. Today's event will be approximately 1 hour long. We have a single panelist presenting in just a few moments that I will introduce to all of you. We should have about 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A following the presentation, and this event is being taped and will be made available later on this afternoon at datasciencecentral.com. I would also like to encourage our attendees to provide questions throughout the presentation. We will be reviewing them and presenting them on your behalf during the Q&A portion of today's event. My name is Tim Madison, and I am one of the co-founders of Data Science Central, and I will be your host for today's webinar. I'm very pleased to introduce today's speaker, Kevin King of Coca-Cola. Kevin is the Director of Reporting and Analytics at Coke, and he began his career back in 2005. Kevin is responsible for reporting and analytics for the sales and delivery organization. His team consists of business, sales, and reporting analysts who are focused on leveraging data and analytics through the automation of BI and providing a mobile environment. He graduated from Claflin University with a degree in business administration and received his MBA from the University of Phoenix in 2009. Kevin will also be joined by some of his staff in today's presentation, and he can make that introduction in just a few moments. So thanks for being with us, Kevin. We're looking forward to your presentation and that of your team. Coca-Cola prides itself at being leaders in the beverage industry as a whole. Their goal to make, sell, and deliver products and services better than anyone else relies heavily on cutting-edge technology and innovation. Approximately 2 years ago, Tableau was introduced as a business intelligence solution to leverage data mining and analytics. Since then, Tableau has drastically changed the culture of how the organization visualizes and digests data to make better decisions, better business decisions, I should say. In today's webinar, you will get, In today's webinar, you will get an inside look into how Tableau has significantly impacted Coca-Cola by providing a professional reporting tools for the sales team, total visibility of key metrics by position, automation of key reports and analysts, mobility via iPad, greater end-user experience, drill-down functionality to understand wins and losses, and on-the-spot decision-making. So with that, Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you. I apologize for advancing that slide a bit early, but you can go ahead when you're ready to go.
Good afternoon. It is a pleasure to speak with everyone today. We are really excited about Tableau and what Tableau has done for the organization, which is why we have titled it Open Happiness Through BI. We've been in this BI space, which was very new to the organization, for about 3 to 4 years. About 3 years ago, we implemented an enterprise data warehouse, and so that was great to be able to take data from multiple systems, to be able to take that data and be able to have one source. But the reality was that we were still trying to leverage tools as Excel. We really use Excel as our main tool to be able to provide data analytics and reporting. And the reality was that we had pretty much done everything that we could do with Excel. We had done VLOOKUPs, HLOOKUPs, SLOOKUPs, and I know some of you are saying that there's no such thing as an SLOOKUP, but we tried it. I mean, we really tried to leverage everything that we could with Excel, and we continuously ran into roadblocks. We couldn't manage the amount of data that we were trying to manage. At the same time, our organization became a mobile organization. So instead of the people in the field going to a branch, a central location every morning, they were actually getting up and going directly to their car and going to the locations outside in the market. And so they needed to be able to get data immediately. They needed to be able to get data in their hands. They also want to be able to take the data and the reports that we create, the analytics, and have dialogue with the customer. And so we could not really do that in Excel as much as we wanted to. We couldn't leverage the data and the reporting through Excel. And so we found Tableau. And Tableau has really been a great tool for us because it's allowed us to be a mobile environment. Majority of our organization has iPads. And so imagine the ability to be able to have an iPad and show and be able to see your results at the click of your finger. So it's been extremely important. For me, the most important thing for my team is really to not continuously be report generators. I'm pretty sure many of you can imagine that every day there's 3 or 4 or 5 reports that we have to update as a department. And so when do you actually have time to dive deep into data to really be able to give the organization true results, true analytics, to be able to give them business insights that allow us to make better decisions at a very rapid pace. And so Tableau has been able to allow us to do that. We've been able to automate a lot of our dashboards, and so that's really what the conversation is about today. We're going to talk to you about our history. We're going to share with you an example of a report that is very important for Consolidated and how Tableau has allowed for us to streamline that to make it much better. We're also going to talk to you about training. For us, we are an organization that we hang our hat on being very experienced. At any point, you could have someone in the organization that has been here from 30 to 40 years very easily. And so how do you train and change the culture from tools that the organization has been used to for years over years and change it to a new sophisticated tool such as Tableau? We're also going to give you a live demo. We're going to show you some examples of some dashboards as well as some of the functionality of some of the dashboards that we built. And then we're going to turn over to more of a technical perspective where we're going to show you kind of here's our environment now. And we've already outgrown our environment in Tableau where we're already making adjustments to do an upgrade. And then from there, we're going to close by showing you some of the things we plan to do in the future. And we'll open it up for questions and answers. Before I start and pass it over, let me introduce the people that are in the room with me. We have Brian Franklin. Brian is really our liaison between the business and ISS. He's our business data architect. He's going to talk to you about the history. We have Sean Crenshaw. He's our senior business analyst. Sean supports a few of the departments that we have here at Consolidated. We have Pamela Jackson. She's our junior business analyst. Pamela focuses on training and processes and make sure that we're all staying in line as we build and create new things for the department and the organization. And then we have Wayne Rollins, who is our senior programmer analyst. Wayne really manages Tableau for us. So when we come up with these great ideas of things we want to do, Wayne is the one that really helps us understand how to get there. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Franklin to give you a little bit about the history of Consolidated. Brian?
Okay. Just to kind of give you a brief background on who we are as an organization. The Coca-Cola Company, as most of you know, is a multinational. It's worldwide, and it is based out of Atlanta. Our organization is one of the bottlers that Coca-Cola partners with around the world. We are a local independent bottler in the United States, and the map that you see on the slide there kind of shows the territories that we cover. There are many other bottlers in the United States, but we are the largest independent bottler. There are also some bottlers that Coca-Cola owns, and so that's the reason why we distinguish between independent and Coke-owned bottlers. So I would say we are from my experiences, we are what I would call a mid-tier size company. We have 5,000 to 6,000 employees, and we have a large enough organization and a large enough IT shop to where we have the ability to innovate and the ability to go out and build out new things and experiment. So Tableau came to us because we were, as Kevin said, we have, I would say, over 100 different systems in our organization. We have over 100 different systems, and those systems we were bringing together into a data warehouse to join that data together. And so at the same point in time that everybody wanted to see their data together, our soft drink growth was somewhat flat, as you guys have kind of heard through the media. The overall, we've been having to look at alternative beverages around waters and teas and juices and those types of things. So our core brands have been somewhat flat. Our raw materials are going up. So the cost, the concentrate, the aluminum, the gas, all of the things that we have to do to make, sell, and deliver the Coca-Cola, those costs are going up, and the costs of IT are going up. It's becoming increasingly expensive, the more servers and the more applications and software and licenses and all those types of things going up. So we had to find a way to both drive business value and reduce costs. So as we pulled our data together into our data warehouse, we decided, look, we need to try to centralize our reporting tools. We have Excel. We have a bunch of one-off reports. We had a variety of other reporting tools that Kevin didn't mention. But we said, look, we've got all of these different systems and all these different people involved. We need to streamline this. And so if you go into that next slide, you can kind of see this is a visual picture of all of the effort that was going on into our process, and then we streamlined that to bring it into a centralized data warehouse. Well, that data warehouse has a lot of data in it, and we needed a reporting tool with some real horsepower, something that could allow us the flexibility of SQL, would have automation so that we didn't have to have so many people, and would give us a centralized portal so that we could produce those reports for our business users in a shared environment and do it in an automated fashion.
Thanks, Brian. So the next slide, essentially for me in the department and the organization, what the hunger was for the organization was we needed more analysis. And so when you think about, we have over 200 million lines of data. When I think about Excel and what the tools we're using, we're really using what I like to call the Pinto. And so we really need a Mercedes or, something that had a lot more power, that was much more faster. And really Tableau was the tool that we chose that could be able to do that. What's on the screen right now, and it's going to pop up in a second, is what we call the data sales report. This is probably one of the most important documents or reports that we had as an organization. This is the current format that we had previously before Tableau. Some of the things that we experienced was it wasn't dynamic. So, you had multiple tabs. You had over 10 tabs where you have to click through the different levels of the data. There was about 15 data pools from the system, which is margin mounting that we were using at the time. So a person had to actually do this every morning to get the data just to feed a report. It was limited to detail, so you really couldn't drill down to really find, hey, I see a top line issue. Can I drill down to see what's going on and what's driving that? We didn't have that ability. It took about 45 minutes to update every morning, and a lot of times this report was expected to be sent out 7 days a week. So you had a person that was doing that, and then the SLA for that was 7:30 in the morning. Okay, and so I was that person. Just to be frank, I was the person that would get up every morning to update this report. And so you can imagine, imagine where you're trying to get a little bit of extra sleep on a Saturday morning, and you so happen to get to about 7:45, the report's not out yet, and you get an actual text message from your senior VP saying daily sales ? And so, that was my morning, and this went on for 2 years. And so I'm extremely excited about Tableau, and I'm extremely excited to show you the new tool that we actually have. And my wife's very excited about it as well, because I'm not getting up in the morning waking her up with the lights being on. But essentially, this is part of the new tool. And so this is very dynamic. At every level of the organization, I can see what the performance is going to be. It's one report, so now I don't have 6, 7 reports based off of the different regions or territories that we have. It's 100% automated. So once the loads are done at night for the previous sales the day before, everything kicks off and runs itself. So this report actually updates and populates. It also triggers a push report that comes out in the email, where our leadership, all the way from the lower level guys that are selling every day, all the way to our owner, it comes through their email. And it also comes through their mobile device. So it's very mobile friendly. I can drill down to every level. I can look at multiple metrics that are very important for the organization. And so it was a huge part of what we've done. Not only do I don't have to wake up every day, but anybody that looks at this report will see the same exact results, no matter how they slice and dice it. So from a data integrity standpoint, it was very, very good as well for the organization. There's a lot of trust in this report. And the reality is people are now making decisions off of this report, right? So if we see that we have a bad day the day before or something that was unexpected, they can immediately be able to drill down and be able to see what happened. And now you can start having dialogue first thing in the morning with different people throughout the organization, trying to understand what happened, how can you prevent it, or what you could have done better to prepare yourself. So now I'm going to turn it over to Pamela Jackson. One of the things that I expressed to you guys was, okay, yeah, we got this new tool, and it's great, and it looks good, but how do we get the buy-in from the organization, and what is our strategy to approach training and further learning for the organization? So Pamela's going to talk to you guys about that.
So within our organization, we have categorized our users into 3 groups and defined how they all look at that same data to answer different questions. Our leadership, which would be our CEO, president, senior VPs, director of retail sales, this level of the organization uses Tableau for strategic purposes. The data communicated at this level allows a view of the business, which helps to plan the overall direction for growth and profitability for the company. Tableau answers questions such as, are we on track to meet our objectives? Is the plan working? Do we need to revise our approach to finish strong? The next level within our organization is our management. This would consist of our area sales managers, field distribution managers, supervisors, etc. This level of the organization uses Tableau to coach, train, and develop their employees. The reports give a quick overview of their specific areas within the company, from the highest level of data available all the way down to the employee who is responsible for that particular customer. This is an invaluable tool for the mobile nature of our business, because whether we're one-on-one in the office, whether it's a merchandising supervisor, in the car or truck during a ride-along, drivers and drains can quickly be identified and acted upon. The next level within the organization would be considered our field level. That's going to be our on-premise sales reps, our inside sales reps, delivery merchandisers, people that are actually in the field touching the customer one by one. In this level of the organization, the employees are able to quickly see a health check of their business or customer portfolio, as well as their own individual performance. They can track their growth, and they can also compare their success to their peers. Tableau allows them to identify opportunities and create action plans on how to successfully execute and deliver. Since our organization has used Excel and similar products for so many years, adoption to a new way of reporting came with a few challenges. With a mobile sales force, it was important that we establish a process to train in a mobile environment as well as in an office or classroom setting. So we decided to take an approach which would appeal to 3 different learning styles, visual, verbal, and tactile, which are all accessible from one location. The Help button is the link to the training options available to the end user. We have it located on each dashboard, and it provides information about how to use Tableau and the metrics related to that specific dashboard. The training video is a visual walkthrough of the metrics. It highlights information about navigation of Tableau, data sources, and refresh frequencies for the dashboard. For the tactile learner, they can actually review the video on their laptop and follow along on their iPad or their smartphone. If the user doesn't want to use the video, they can click on the Attachments tab, which is embedded in the video for additional training options. The documents that are located on the Attachment tab can also be accessed at the end of the video under Additional Information. There's a link to SharePoint to access our metrics catalog, and a link to our job aid, which is also a condensed version of the metrics and calculations that are within the dashboard.
You know, this is Brian. This is something that over the years we have struggled with, because as great as your technology is, it has to have a good support structure around it when it's rolled out. Otherwise, the solution, as great as it may be, never gains traction, and people don't use it simply because they weren't given enough information about what it is they have and how to use it. So this is one of the things that with Tableau, we made sure that as we rolled it out, we put all of that background and structural information so that people know what they have and they're trained, and the technology really can benefit them.
Yeah, so Brian, you're right. Training has become one of probably the most critical parts of this transition. And so we really, I don't think we really expected that up front. And so we really had to step back, and as of today, we're still trying to figure out ways to train, ways to continuously train. So we're kicking off something called 365 training, where we are going to continue to engage the organization around, are you using this report? What are the questions that these dashboards will answer for you? How do you navigate through them? These are all things that are extremely important, which I think any organization must consider when you go to a new tool such as Tableau. At this point, we spoke to you guys about a live demo, and I think you can see it on the screen. Sean Crenshaw is going to walk you through an example of one of the live demos we've used. He's going to talk to you a little bit about our approach and why do we build it this way. And then we'll show you some other examples of dashboards that we have throughout the organization. Sean?
Sure. Thanks, Kevin. So what you're looking at is what we consider our field operations dashboard. And this is a dashboard that's used primarily by our people that do the delivery of our cases to stores, as well as some of our sales guys as well. And so background on this dashboard is that typically the delivery guys, they're tasked with delivering product. They have metrics that have been identified, different key business indicators, KPIs that they keep track of, but their main job is to deliver product. And so before we had Tableau, they would spend about a day on a Monday typically, and they would have reams of paper and things of that nature would have to go hunt and find to see how exactly they were doing. So what Tableau allowed them to do is have everything consolidated into one place. So not only did it alleviate the hassle of having to print out large volumes of paper, but also allowed them to stay in one spot and find it. And with the ability for Tableau to be flexible and mobile, now they have the option to be on the truck looking at the iPad understanding how they're doing when they're driving to a certain location or a certain route that they're on. In addition to that, our organization is used to looking at data in rows and columns from Excel. And so as you can see from the outset, this may appear to be a very busy dashboard, but when you break it down, it essentially is broken down into compartments. And the reason why we did it this way is because we have a lot of metrics that we track within our organization. So we track things such as, of course, our invoices, how we're delivering our cases, how we're performing when we're delivering the cases, those type of things. So as you can see, we've also have it broken out into 5 underlying dashboards. So we have a profitability one that's in green. And the reason why we broke that out is we wanted to highlight the key metrics that we know that they looked at on a daily or weekly basis. So those are the 8 that you see initially. But then there's some underlying ones as well, such as profitability here, that we had to provide additional detail. So instead of having the first page cluttered, we wanted to have it broken out so it has its own sub-dashboard. So as you can see here, there are 4 additional metrics that we're tracking. We have our profit and loss, how much it's costing us per case, our head count, and then another metric down here that just essentially tracks how well we're doing with resources and volume. And so all of this is available to them, as well as they have the option to choose what area they want to look at. You can slice and dice it by month. You can slice it by your territory that you cover. You can also look at it by branch. So it gives them the ability to really analyze the data and truly see trends and anomalies that they're looking at. And the guys in the field love this because this is something they didn't have before. This is something that was a dream to most of them because they wanted to have the ability to go in and see data at a real-time basis. And so now they have the ability to do that. And so now, for example, as I mentioned before, this dashboard is used by not only our field guys, but also the guys that are tasked with selling the product. So we have an account developer dashboard on the top right. And so now, in addition to our delivery guys being able to look at this, our selling guys can look at this as well, and they can see key metrics that apply to them. And so our selling and delivery areas are working in conjunction. They have to, because the selling guys pretty much dictate what the delivery guys and what their task would be. And so it's helpful for us to see how we're doing in terms of selling with certain metrics to understand how is it going to affect the distribution area. And so one good thing that you'll notice as well is that we have different looks for different metrics. One metric could be a bar graph. As you can see to the right, we have bars and circles. And if you click on the underlying details for average length of day, for example, as you can see, that green line shows you the trend. But if you go to the average length of day, that will give you an even different look. And so now you have the ability to not only see a top line here at the overall area level, but now you can get down to actually see individual level. And this is key because it's good to see how the trends are doing, but it's also even better to be able to see how each individual account developer is spending their time. Is the person working too long? What's the reason for that person working so long? If a person's not working long, okay, why is that person not working as long as this other person? So in this example, you'll see that we have an average that shows what the average is, and you see the people that are above or below as well. And in addition to that, on the right, as you can see, you have additional filters and slices that give the user the option to see the data based on how they want to see it. And so for the most part, all of our dashboards are built with this same intent in mind. We wanted to have something that was seamless, that I can look at and that upper management can look at and that people that are actually doing the execution of the plans can look at as well, and it'll tell them the same story. And we built it to where management sees data and they can drill down all the way to the lowest level. You can also get to customer level as well. So there's different ways to see how the business is performing. Now, one of the things that this dashboard helps us to answer are certain business questions. In the example that was just clicked on, you can see how we're doing in terms of our year-to-year invoices. So we're able to see how we're doing last year compared to this year. In addition to that, Tableau gives us the capability to add arrows and other graphics to show, are we trending up or are we trending down? And so in this example here, you see that invoices are up, which is not a good thing for us because that means more money, more trucks out there driving on the road, but volume is up. So you can see the correlation between volume and invoices. Then on the right, we've broken it down even further. So you can see the accurate percentage and highlight that. And then we have the capability to show it to you by month. So you have it broken out by month. So you can see how you did for March, April, May, June, so on and so forth. And the good thing about Tableau is that it's not limited based on other business intelligence tools may be limited. Whatever you provide to Tableau, you can essentially present in your visual. And so here we're just showing 4 months, but the data could span a year or 2 years. This is just how we decided to visualize this metric in this case.
You know, something that's, as you can see, we use a lot of bar charts and line graphs. That's mostly due to our culture. You know, sometimes you can have a really snazzy tool that can do all kinds of heat maps and bullet charts and things like that, and we are trying to match the rate of change within our culture, and there's some things that they're just not quite ready for yet.
Exactly.
But the nice thing is I think Tableau will help us grow into that. They've got a lot more advancements that we hope to grow into.
Yep, so it's kind of giving them a little bit so they can see the power of it, and then at the same time gradually making that transition to get into more of the visual analytics that we are trending towards, that we have so many ideas, but the most important thing was to get adoption. Adoption was the most important asset and aspect of Tableau. Once you get the adoption, then you can implement some of the more analytical and advanced type of visuals.
Sean, what would you say what has been some of the feedback that you've received through different levels of organization? So give us an example of the feedback you've gotten from, you know, some of our senior directors, as well as feedback you've gotten from, you know, a distribution manager that's on the street actually using this to manage his folks.
Yep. Well, from a senior director and senior management perspective, they love having this tool because, like I said before, it gives them something they didn't have before. Before, they would have to go to SharePoint, they would have to print out file, they have to go to Excel, they have to go to numerous places to get the data. Now it's in one spot, and it helps them to tell the story of their business. They're able to see this data, and also they have the ability to see it more frequently than they could before. Before, they have to do it monthly or probably less frequent than that. Now they can see it weekly and sometimes even daily, so they can see exactly how decisions that they've made impact the business. And from a field standpoint, this also gives the field guys more accountability and responsibility as well. So now they can see how they're doing. Before, it was kind of a mystery to them. They weren't exactly sure how exactly they were performing. But now they're able to see that and truly make decisions and make impacts based on their day-to-day decisions.
So one of the things you guys are noticing is that we're actually flipping through various iterations of the dashboard. And so there's what I like to call there's different flavors depending on what the department may be, and different looks of how we're building dashboards. And so that's extremely important. The good thing about Tableau is that we don't have to build one type of dashboard to fit the whole organization. We can really departmentalize the dashboards, which is very effective because the delivery metrics are totally different than what would be in selling. And in our customer care center, where we actually call the customers, those metrics are totally different than any of those two departments. So you really have the ability to build it based off of the need, and that's what you see that's flipping through right now on the screen.
And so when we built these, primarily we built them as role-based, so essentially we built them based on the role or the function that a person performs. And so that's why you can see a lot of the dashboards are showing productivity, employee-type metrics, because we built it from the bottom up. So we built it with the people that are actually doing the execution and the selling in mind, and then rolling that all the way up to the top line so they can see it, the holistic view of the organization. And another thing that I want to point out about dashboards is that not only did we build them, but we also had extensive QA involved as well, from validating that the data that we had was legitimate. Because even though we may have a nice, beautiful product, if the data is inaccurate, then they'll immediately cancel out the adoption and people will not use that tool. And so the data validation was just as important as the visualizations as well.
All right, so we've showed you guys a demo of some of the dashboards and how we approach it. At this point, we're going to switch it over to Wayne to talk more about the back end and kind of the architecture of Tableau. And from there, we'll finish up.
All right, so as Kevin said earlier, I'm from the IT side of the house, so I actually administer the Tableau environment and also work on the EDW, the Enterprise Data Warehouse, and help support that. You're probably thinking you have to have a lot of hardware to do what we're doing. Well, actually, you don't. We have right now on our production server that is in, being used right now to do all the stuff that you've seen so far, is just a single 8-core virtual server, 32 gig of memory, and a couple of kind of large hard drives running all the application components that Tableau has. We also have a development server that we're running beside it. We try to do all of our contract development, people that we've brought in to do dashboards besides Kevin's team work on that server so we can keep our production server pure. Tableau offers we're using two parts of what they offer. One is the desktop application, which is what Kevin's team uses to actually develop the dashboards, but we also use the server, the Tableau server, where we publish dashboards so they can be shared amongst all the other peoples and all the other departments. And we also use it for extracts, where we're extracting data from various systems. Probably 85 to 90% of what we pull into the Tableau server is from the Enterprise Data Warehouse. It is SQL Server 2008, and we're just pulling that data in. But we also have connections to SSAS, SAP BW, Oracle databases, Excel spreadsheets, and Power Pivots that are sitting out in our system. So Tableau is very useful for pulling in data from a lot of different places and putting it all together in one dashboard. So as far as like the number of users we have, you can look through this and you can see that on a daily average we have about 80 views per hour, 40 to 60 workbooks, individual workbooks accessed per day. And our peak of viewing time is in the morning when everybody comes into the office between 8 and 10 a.m. We're also doing, like I said, we use the Tableau server model, so we did that because live connections outside the SQL Server are dependent on the speed of your servers. If you bring the data into the Tableau server, then you can leverage their data engine, which gives you a lot faster response. So as you can see, we have a lot of users. We've had very good adoption for Tableau, and we have a lot of people using it every day. And this is what our viewing pattern looks like as the slide comes up slowly. There we go. These are for any given day. This is the usage pattern. Every column is a day. Every dot is an hour in the day, and we're counting the number of users that we have. So you can see we've got generally 40 to 50 users pretty much all throughout the day, but we do peak up a little bit higher. And you'll notice even on July 4th we have activity because we are a company that is 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and our senior executives are checking their Tableau dashboards every day of the year, including 4th of July and Christmas. I also mentioned the extracts. We have found over time with the extract model that we are doing too many extracts. And so right now we have just 2 background processors running, and we run extracts from early in the morning until late in the morning.
Hey, just because there may be some of you on the call who may not necessarily understand what an extract is within the Tableau environment. We have a Tableau years ago used to be just client. It used to be just a client application where you could run a report and generate a report on your desktop. Well, newer versions, and the one we're currently on, has a server component. And that server component allows you to run a report and connect live to a database and it pulls that data from the source and then displays it in the report. But Tableau also gives you the ability to extract data from a source system, in our case primarily from our data warehouse, which is SQL Server. And what it does is it loads it into memory, which is a columnar data store type storage, and it actually is persisted inside Tableau Server. And these daily extracts that Wayne's talking about is when we have said, hey, we want to join these 6 tables together from a data source, and we don't want to do that on the fly. We want to do that in the middle of the night. And that middle of the night extract is moving the data from the source system into the Tableau server so that our reports can use it, and that's what Wayne's referring to.
Right. And so, as you can see, we have a very busy environment, and so we have really outgrown the single server, and so we are in the process right now of building out a new configuration. We're going to have a gateway server, which will be a load balancer, 2 interactive worker servers, so that if one of those servers should go down, the other one will pick up. But during the rest of the time, we'll actually be doubling our capacity to do visualizations. We're also going to have an extract-only worker server. This is going to be a server, right now, the extracts and everything are all done on the same server that we're trying to do the visualization on. Well, the extracts are very CPU intensive, and so they eat up. If you've got 2 of them running, they're eating up 2 cores, and it can cause a problem. So we're going to have pull that off onto its own server, run that, and finish a lot earlier, and also not impact our visualizations. Like I said, we have that project in place now. Have that done by the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you, Wayne. So I know we've said a lot in the last 30 to 35 minutes, but Tableau truly has been very, very valuable for the organization. I'm extremely happy, and that's why we titled it Open Happiness, because for the first time in the 9 years that I've been here, we are really at the brink of being able to not just generate reports, but to be able to speak to reports, to be able to allow the organization to make much better decisions, which at the end of the day, it's all about growing and being profitable. And now we're one of the main stakeholders to be able to do that. I would like to close in saying, it is a different. It's going to be a culture change if you're totally new to Tableau. It's going to take the investment from your core team to be able to train and to grow adoption. A simple webinar to roll out will not be enough from what we found. You got to figure out how to continuously train folks and really step into their shoes and say, if I'm in this specific role, what are the things that I need to know in order to make better decisions, and how can I get to that data? Tableau is also great because it allows us to be able to have flexibility around different departments. Not everybody has to have the same metrics or the same look. And the other great thing is that Tableau's always evolving, right? So we're on 8.0, there's already 8.2, and we're ready to get to that because there's already new solutions and new ways to do things and new ways to look at data. So they're always updating and reinventing the way we do things, and most importantly, they actually listen to our feedback. As we're talking to our rep and giving him feedback on things and opportunities that we see, he's actually taking it back to Seattle with their core teams, and they're actually trying to figure out ways to provide better solutions. And that's what it's really about, is always evolving and trying to get better. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Tim to open up this session for some QA. And we'll feel free to answer any questions that we can.
Great. Thanks, Kevin and team. You guys did a really wonderful job explaining everything. And I have to comment, one of the things I think is very interesting is the notion of Coca-Cola being this very established, long-time running organization. And the notion of changing that culture with new technology that will actually help them. And you guys approached it in a very thoughtful manner, and the notion that this builds and provides tools that, as you change that culture, will sort of evolve with time. So we have lots of questions that came in. While we're during the Q&A portion of today's event, the slide that you all see up now is Kevin's direct email address. So anybody that has questions that they would like to ask or would like to reach out to Kevin directly following today's event, please take the time to take his email address down, and you can reach out to him following today's webinar. So Kevin and team, there's a few questions that have come around that have been flying through. with regards to those that are sort of evaluating Tableau as a potential platform. And the central question, there's actually two that I'm going to ask within this one. One, what are some of the challenges that you all faced rolling this out, and how did you work that angle in terms of changing the culture and bringing this new technology to an otherwise older organization that was pretty set in their ways?
One of the things that we ran up against was the concept that they didn't understand what BI is. You can't walk in and say, "Hey, would you like BI?" They say, "No, I need a report." Because they use the terminology that they're familiar with. So we kind of had to, we'll say, we had to explain the new technology using terms that they're familiar with. And we also had to explain it in how it would help them manage their business. And any time you can explain a tool in a way that can help someone manage their business, they're up for it. So that really helped our adoption, along with a lot of the stuff we covered that Pam covered around training. If people know how to use it and know what it's for and know why they should use it and when they should use it, you have a lot better adoption.
And I would add to that, I think the second part of that is that obviously when you're rolling a Tableau and you're leveraging the enterprise data warehouse, you do have tools out there that have their own calculations and they're doing their own math and their own logic. So we had to strategically figure out how to turn off some of what we call the legacy stuff, because we went through a very extensive process of here's the metric. We met with the business partner, and the business partner gave us the requirements for the metrics, but those requirements may have been different than previous reports that we already had. And so we really had to strategically make sure that everybody understand that the enterprise data warehouse is not a book of records, and we had to, basically retire and eliminate other reports so you wouldn't have, two competing data, competing reports.
Okay, very good. Thoughtful answer. So the next question is, how long did it take in general to train some of the staff, obviously a large organization? Once you had them trained, how long did it take to sort of convert all this data from Excel and get things sort of up and running?
I would say that's a work in progress. As far as the training, essentially Tableau is very intuitive in a sense, so that once you see it a couple times, you're able to navigate, and we've built it to where we made it very intuitive for the people in the field and our users to be able to navigate the tool pretty easily, and in addition to the job aids that we have as well. So the training and the adoption has been key based on the job aids. But as far as the transitioning from the manual effort to the automated, it's still a work in progress. I would say we're about 60 to 65% close to that, and eventually we'll have everything automated and in Tableau.
And also to that point, Sean, when did you learn about Tableau, and how long did it take you to get up to speed?
I was first exposed to Tableau when I took this position, so I never had seen Tableau before. But as far as getting up to speed on actually learning how to build in Tableau, I would say it took, I had my first dashboard built in about 2 weeks. So you can easily learn and start utilizing the tool. It's a great tool, and plus Tableau provides additional resources online with online webinars and things that also enhance your ability to learn the tool.
Okay, very good. So I'm trying to group some questions so as many we can answer as many in the time remaining. But lots of questions coming in with regards to the types of data, the volume of data, the cleaning of the data. Can you guys go into some detail from start to finish in terms of you have this raw data that's coming in? How do you convert it to the Tableau format? How do you clean it, and overall, what is the general volume? I think you mentioned 200 million lines in one of the slides, but if you can speak to that in greater detail, I think that would be helpful.
Okay. We have it's a combined effort in that we do a lot of our cleaning inside our data warehouse. We're pulling from dozens of systems that all have, of course, you have to have good solid master data. You have to have good modeling. You have to know how to associate your dimensions with your fact tables. So you have to have a good base layer of data warehouse knowledge and implementation so that your analysts can just go in and plug and play and start to use. We have data coming from, as Wayne said, we have data coming from vSAM files, from Oracle, from SQL Server, from flat files. We have a wide variety, and most of that goes into our SQL Server database. But we also can, if we're in a pinch, let's say one of the sales analysts is in a pinch and needs to join it up, Tableau does have the ability to do blending and joining. It's limited, but it can do blending and joining with external data. So you could load up 2 or 3 different data sources into Tableau if they're not all in your data warehouse, and join them right there in the report. From a data size standpoint, when we talk about the 200 million records, that's one of our tables. So we typically will join, we'll say our actuals table or our budget table, and our budget table, when it's broken down to a customer, down to a day level, can reach 600 to 700 million lines. And when we use that as a data source, we want to be careful about just carte blanche loading that into Tableau. So we do a combination of loading it into cubes, so we can create, as Wayne said, SSAS cubes, or we can create views that IT has blessed the SQL, right? Because if you have a non-performing SQL join, then your dashboard is not going to perform very well. But we have overall had very good we've had a very good experience with larger data sets. Now you start getting up into 1 billion rows, and you start having to think about doing it a lot differently. You can't just slap 1 billion rows into Tableau Server and have it perform the same way. So that's where we are looking at jumping from one data set to another, or looking at cubes. And to a couple of the questions that I saw on there, the cubes Tableau connects live to. It does not do extracts from the cubes, because that's the reason why cubes are built. They're built to be accessed by the reporting layer, so Tableau connects live to those cubes. And the heavy lifting is done by the cube and not necessarily by Tableau Server.
And as far as the actual physical size of the data we're bringing in, I think the largest extract that we have is our daily sales, which is detailed daily sales for the past 2 years, and it's about 2 gig on the disk. And the Tableau Server handles that, really well.
Yep.
Because once it gets on the server, it changes, it formats it and everything, and it's very fast.
But to that point, because that's one of our main reports, we have done a lot of tuning on that, and we've done some aggregation so that it's not, let me put it this way, it was a thoughtful extract.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. Like the detail of that question and the answer. Can you go into some detail in terms of how you manage the workforce and the use of the tool? You talked about how this was an important part is that it's a mobile and on the iPad. How do you manage the distribution of the tool itself to a rather large workforce?
All right, so the actual tool, the desktop tool, we have a subset of about 25 to 30 people who have access to that, and that can actually build the dashboards. Once they publish those on the server, they can also put them in SharePoint. We have a push report that we send out every day, and so everything, over the web. So everybody, the mobile users, they go in through the firewall to the Tableau server with their iPads, and it brings the reports up. And a lot of the formatting we've done is formatted for the iPad. As far as the push report, we use a utility in Tableau that actually just creates and executes a command file that produces the report, puts it in a PDF, we attach that to an email, or embed that in an email and send that out every day. And like I said, most people are connecting directly to the server. Other people are actually just looking at reports in SharePoint. And they can interact with any report that they can see. They can interact with that report if it's been set up for interactivity.
Okay.
And yep, go ahead.
Sorry, go
You're
ahead.
Good.
Continue.
No, that's fine. He covered it.
Okay, sounds good. The other question, I think you did touch on this, Kevin. I think you said your team uses the desktop version of Tableau, but I want to make sure that this question is addressed. That looks like you guys are using the Tableau server and not the Tableau desktop, even though I think that was sort of made clear that Kevin does. Can you go into detail of the difference between the two and how you utilize? It sounds like both.
Okay. We use Tableau Desktop to build. So it is our desktop environment is primarily for our analysts to build the dashboards. We don't publish the actual Tableau file, so to speak, out for other people to look at using Tableau Desktop. We use it to build. So we may have a group of people that may be working on the same dashboard where we may store a TWB or a TWBX or file where we're all working on the same file. But once we actually produce it for the business to use, we produce that on the server, and they access it via the web or a Tableau app. So our users access the reporting through the web and through the app, and we use the client to develop.
Okay, very good. And a good transition question is, does it take a Tableau solutions architect to design an entire set of dashboards like what you've been showing? So in terms of the customization.
No, not at all. I think that's the really the key for us is that it's very it's self-service tool, and so we don't need, I guess, what I'm calling the typical traditional ISS group or developer to do it for us. We can do it ourselves. Even to the sales and reporting analysts who are not BAs can do it.
Yeah, but at the same time, we don't have 10 people going out building dashboards all willy-nilly. So we do have some kind of control. It's limited. We have governance around who can build and who cannot, because even though Tableau is a very powerful and useful tool, if you place it in the hands of a lot of people who are building things and may not look exactly quite right, could allow people to misinterpret information.
Okay, very good. I think in terms of trying to end on time here, I'm going to let that be the last question. I want to make sure that the audience realizes that all the questions that came in that were not answered, we're going to make sure that they are all sent to the team presenting today, as well as to the Coca-Cola group and to Tableau, so they will be able to follow up with you all directly following today's event. I have just a few quick announcements to make. To please mark your calendars for October 28th and our next Data Science Central webinar, Improving the Data Modeling Workflow, which is going to be sponsored by Looker. Also, as I mentioned earlier, today's event is being taped and will be made available later on this afternoon at datasciencecentral.com. This brings our event to a close. I would like to thank again our audience for their great questions and attendance today, and a special thank you to Tableau for their sponsorship, and our panelists, Kevin King and his team, for making a really great presentation, very thoughtfully put together, and really profiling how these tools can make such a huge difference in an organization as large as something like Coke. My name is Tim Madison. It's been a pleasure to be your host for today's event. I'll look forward to seeing you all again on October 28th. Good day.